morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Friday, September 14th, 2018. I am Dave Biddle, very happy to be joined by Jonah Booker for his usual Friday visit. JBook, it is the eve of the big game between Ohio State and TCU, of course. The kickoff is slated for just past 8 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow. The game will be televised by ABC. Buckeyes were favored by 12.5 points. JBook, my question for you, sir, what is your prediction for tomorrow? Who wins the game? What will be the final score?
Yeah, I think this is going to be a nice little track meet here. TCU, they're going to bring a lot of speed to the table, something that Ohio State hasn't seen so far this year, but nothing they can't handle. I think pound for pound, Ohio State is a better and a deeper football team than TCU. I like Ohio State on the fast track here with all of the weapons Dwayne Haskins has at his side. The running backs here, I think this could be a big day for Mike Weber and J.K. Dobbins. TCU, they run a exotic defense, a 4-2-5 type front with smaller defense alignments, and Gary Patterson is going to mix it up. But I think Ohio State massive offensive line has the potential to dominate up front. I like Ohio State getting into a little bit of a shootout here, but I have the Buckeyes winning this one 48-24.
48-24, I like it. I have 38-24, so I have the Buckeyes barely covering. I think TCU is going to keep it close. This is their Super Bowl. They're going to have, they're going to throw some things the Buckeyes are not expecting, but talent wins out, and TCU's got tremendous speed, as you mentioned, but as you also mentioned, Ohio State can either match that or top it, and Ohio State's got the power behind it. So I like the Buckeyes tomorrow, but I do think it's going to be, at least at times, a nail-biter. When you look at this game tomorrow, what gives you, the biggest sense of optimism, J-Book?
I just look at this Ohio State offense. It's tremendously dynamic. It's damn if you do, damn if you don't. Pick your poison. If you want to go ahead and load the box up and try to slow down the running attack with Weber and Dobbins, Dwayne Haskins is going to sit back there and absolutely shred your defense. If you want to go zone, then you're going to force Dwayne to read the coverages. Then all of a sudden, if you're zoning it up, that offensive line start leaning those big bodies on you, then it's going to open up running lanes. Some teams may try to go ahead and man up. I would advise against that because Ohio State has at least 6 or 7 primetime wide receivers who can make big plays with the ball in their hand. So at the end of the day, I just don't think TCU has the horses to match up with Ohio State's offense. So when I look at it, I think TCU will put some points up. They do have some playmakers on their end, but I just think there are too many weapons for the Buckeyes here.
What concerns you the most from Ohio State's perspective as you look at this TCU team?
I would say special teams is my biggest concern. TCU has a dynamic special teams punt returner. He returned one against SMU last week that really broke it open. So I think Ohio State, they're really going to need to stay in their lanes and stay disciplined when it comes to their coverage units. Gary Patterson has been known to be an excellent coach when it comes to special teams, and they have the guy back there who could really flip the field and give them excellent field position or even take one to the house if you're not careful. So that's my main concern is the special teams units making sure that they're covering all aspects on that kicking game.
Switching gears real quick, I'll get back to Ohio State personnel here in a minute, but on the Urban Meyer front, his last game, not coaching on the sidelines, obviously he's been coaching in practice the last 2 weeks. Ryan Day's done a great job. I'm hearing that, again, just to be clear, this is not confirmed. I'm hearing a rumor that Meyer will be on College Game Day, a pre-recorded interview with ESPN on College Game Day. They're, of course, going to be there in Fort Worth. Game Day will be on TCU's campus, even though the game was, of course, at AT&T Stadium, for those that didn't know that. And it's going to be, from what I've heard, if this actually goes down, it's going to be, like I said, a pre-recorded interview with ESPN regarding his suspension and everything that goes with it. If this is true, do you think, J-Book, is this smart of Meyer to speak with ESPN about that, or or no? Or do you need to see the interview first to answer that question?
I would probably need to see the interview. I know Chris Fowler and Kirk Herbstreit, they were on campus watching practice this week. So if they did pre-record it, it was probably when they were there. Now, a lot of people can make the argument is Meyer doing an interview right now with Kirk Herbstreit could be considered doing one with a friend here. So you may not get the hard inside fastball questions that you would normally get with someone else. But obviously you expect them to ask some of the questions that national media members want to know about. With that being said, if he does really well in this interview, this could give him the leverage going forward to say no more questions about the suspension and the issues. Going forward, I'm only talking about Ohio State football. If you have any more questions, please refer back to the interview that I recently did.
And before I let you go, Shaun Wade, I mean, this kid looked great last week in his coming out party, redshirted last year. We're talking about a five-star kid. Only at Ohio State does a five-star kid not get lost in the shuffle, but there wasn't like a tremendous amount of hype for him coming into this year. Can you imagine him at like Iowa or really anywhere else in the Big Ten? There'd be like everybody would be salivating about him, and Buckeye fans should be salivating now. I know it was Rutgers, JBook, I know, but still, Shaun Wade's now the nickelback, it looks like. I mean, they didn't confirm that when we talked to Shiano, but it sure looks that way to me. I think his role is just going to increase. He can play safety, he can play corner, can play nickel. I love this. Yeah,
I really love his size. I mean, you look at him, he's a 6'2", long, lanky type of guy, and because of his frame and his athletic ability, they're able to move him around. I know there was talk about him potentially moving to safety. I still have major concerns about that back end besides Jordan Fuller. And if Shaun Wade can help plug that hole there, I'm all forward. But the thing is he can play in the slot, he can play outside, he can play on the back end. When you have a guy that's a Swiss Army knife on the defensive side of the football, it allows you a lot of flexibility. And the one thing that Ohio State really does well when it comes to the defense and as well as the offense is just trying to get your 11 best guys on that side of the football playing. And to me, I think Shaun Wade's name has to be in the mix as one of your best athletes on the team. So try to find places where he can excel at. Obviously, when you're moving him around, there's going to be a lot of thinking and a lot of discipline when it comes to the film room and knowing his assignments. So that's going to be something to keep an eye on, making sure that there's no blown assignments, because if you're a safety and you're blowing things, that means the band's going to be playing the other team's fight stone fairly quick here. So it's going to be key for him to be all caught up mentally, but physically and athletically, the ceiling's the sky is high. The guy can do whatever he wants to, and I think the more he plays, the better he's going to get.
Great insights, as always, from Jonah Booker. Thank you very much, JBook. You can catch him on Twitter at JBook37. You can catch him all over Bucknuts. His column is outside Columbus. Thank you very much, JBook, and thanks to all the listeners out there for tuning into the show. Enjoy the game tomorrow, Bucknutters. Have a great weekend. Let's show the Buckeye swag, best damn band in the land.